Alright guys, today we got two brand new things to come out of the Sparrows laboratories up in Canada. So I thought I'd show you the smallest one, the most difficult to photograph first. The first one is called the Munitions Pins, and you get 3 of each of these pins I'm getting ready to go over. Let's just start over here. I'm going to try to do this without knocking anything over. These first two look like just projectiles. So you have a long projectile here and then a short-bodied, sharp-tipped projectile here. This next one looks to be a hollow point bullet inside of the case. Let's see if I can find one here. These things are amazing. Hold them up. See if I can get this thing in frame without knocking too many things over. Even the base of it, this is one of the projectiles, or one of the cartridges, and it actually has a pretty well rendered crimped primer in the bottom. I don't think that would add a lot to the lock picking or the pick resistance, but I just thought it was interesting they went to the trouble to put a fake primer in the bottom of it. Anyway, very nicely done, like probably 44 Magnum or something like that. This one looks to be maybe a 9mm or 40. It's a complete bullet in the cartridge. Again, he's got the primer on the bottom of him. Again, another loaded one. This one is a hollow point. Not quite as deep a hollow point as this guy, but both of these would be great for having a pin insert into that hollow point to make our lives just a little bit harder for some of those challenge locks. This next one looks to be like a Wad Cutter. Again, it's a case, probably a 38. You can see a rimmed case on this one with a flat nose. So for target shooters, you guys probably recognize that as a Wad Cutter. For you guys in the UK, you probably recognize this guy. This is a Target, probably a 177 caliber air gun. And when you turn him over, let me grab one out of frame here. And again, I'll try to put him in here without knocking too many things over. The bottom of it is hollow, just like a real lead 177 or 22 caliber pellet. He also has a little serration under to make our lives just that much more fun. Anyway, those are some new stuff. These sell for $4.50. You get 3 of each of these pins in the kit, and Sparrows is calling these the Munitions Pins. All right, let's get on with item number 2. Well, guys, we have been waiting a very long time for this, about 2 years, I think. This is the Sparrows Dimple Pick Kit, $39, and that's US. The prices on the Sparrow site are now in US dollars, and even sweeter. They have a new warehouse in Pennsylvania, so we're going to start saving on international shipping. When I took a look at this the first time, it kind of freaked me out. Does that look like a coffin to anybody other than me? Maybe it's just my, nightmarish type personality. But it kind of fits in the dark theme of some of the Sparrow stuff lately. The dark shift, that's like night shift though. But that scary skeleton face on the reflection kit, and Warlock, and the Medusa, and the Mace picks, and Chaos card, the Monstrum kit. This is just a plain old Dimple Pick kit. But I half expected when I lifted this up to find a little bitty dead body inside of there with a face looking out at me. But instead, I was pleasantly surprised to find 9 tensioners, all of different widths, different thicknesses. So I think Sparrows realized that it's just as important to maintain the full control of the core on a dimple pick as it is on a pin tumbler lock. In fact, so much so, let me find one here. There's a couple of these in here that have an angled, there we go. There's one right there. It's angled on one side, so you can put it in the bottom of the keyway, and that rounded edge prevents you from pinching the core against the body and seizing it up. So really, really well thought out. So I no longer have to worry about trying to find bits of wire and different tensioners. You got a really good selection right there. Where you would expect to find the body, open that up, and now we have what appear to be just 3 picks. I was a little disappointed until I saw this little finger hole here, lifted it up, and there lie the rest of them. All right, why don't we go ahead and pull all these out, and let's take a closer look at these picks and see what Sparrows has come up with after 2 years of hard work. All right, guys, there's all 16 pieces of this kit laid out kind of symmetrically around this axis. That axis would be where you have one straight flag. This is probably the pick that you use most often, as he opens probably the largest number of locks. Only when you have warding or security pins, you need to start looking at some of your flags. You have 3 right flags, and by right flag, I mean a pick. When you look at the curve of the pick, he picks on the right side of the shaft. Likewise, you have a deep one, a medium one, and a light hook. And then you have the same thing on the left. You have a left flag to pick on the left side of the flag, deep, medium, and a light flag. When I first picked these up, by the way, if you're looking for your very first kit and you're only going to be working on some pretty simple dimple locks, you don't have to watch any further. This is probably the kit you want. It's got everything that I could want in a dimple kit. Most importantly, a wide variety of tension wrenches. You don't often see that. But if you're interested in some details about the construction of this, or if you're going to be picking pair-centric locks, perhaps like this guy, or maybe his little brother here, where you have to get around those pieces of warding to get up inside of there, then maybe we want to know a little bit more about these flags. Let's first look at the handles. Very heavy, very dense. My first impression is that this is solid plastic of some kind. But then when I looked at the handle, all of them have these two little slits on the back, and through there you can see some kind of metal. I thought it was like a metal shell or something, because my belief was these are some kind of wire that's been kind of embedded into this plastic or cast into it. But then I got the magnet out and started looking around. I thought, okay, that wire at least goes that far. Oh, that wire goes pretty far. Wow, that wire goes all the way to the rear, which kind of explains why the feedback on these was so good, because they're full tang. But then when I looked into that slit, it doesn't look like wire. So I was very curious about what that was all about. So I took one of my picks that I've been using for about the last week, and I put them on the grinder and wheel brush and brushed off the plastic. And lo and behold, beneath there is a piece of solid steel along the entire length of that handle with this hard plastic cast onto it. It didn't even want to come off. I mean, it's bound on there. So that truly explains why the feedback was so good. Let's go back to the handles for just a second. On the handles, you notice we have angled on the rear, which fits on the rear of your hand like so. And then your fingers fit up on the increased diameter on the front. These little diamonds here make it really neat, very ergonomic. You can tell how much you're turning that pick. The shaft rides along your hand. Very nice. Very comfortable to use. Why am I concerned with how much I've rotated that pick? Well, dimple picks, unlike pin tumblers, tend to get stuck in the keyways a lot. And it's really nice to know which way that flag is pointing, because if he's pointed down, he's going to get caught on the bottom of the warding or the keyway. If he's pointed up, he's going to get caught on the top, or to the side, he's going to get caught on the side. He can also get stuck into keyways or into the keyholes. If you push them down to press them too far, he can get hung up inside of there, particularly if the lock has sliders or opposing pins. So it's always a challenge to know which way that's pointed. Now on these picks, on the back of the handles, Sparrows has put their logo. And on many of these, and this is a good example, the head of the pick is pointed straight up, and you notice that's very close to being oriented the same way. So if I'm picking and he gets stuck, I can let go of the pick, I can walk around, and I can look at the back here to see which way that head is pointed. So I can rotate the head of that pick to the open part of the keyway, and then I can try to extract him without breaking him. It's a good theory. But then unfortunately, again, this is the straight flag, the one you use most often. He also is rotated perfectly vertical, but when you look at his indicator, it's about 90 degrees off. So that's not a good indication. Now we're going to come to the first recommendation that I would make to these picks. There's no tactile or visual indicator on here, so we need to put one, or Sparrows needs to put one. And what I've come up with on the kit that I've been using is I just drilled a hole. So I put the hole on the same side as the flag. So if I'm rotating around, I get stuck, I start yanking, I look and see the hole is vertical. I know to rotate him to the open part of the keyway and then try my best to extract him without breaking the tip off. That's what I've come up with. Take it or leave it. That's one change I would recommend there. All right, let's keep looking at our cutaway here. Thick shaft of metal down the length of the handle, good feedback. But then we get down here, and you notice it's not just a piece of wire that's been jammed into it. In fact, this whole pick, the head of this pick, used to be the same diameter as that handle. And what Sparrows has chosen to do is to grind this down. Now, this is not a cheap way to make picks. Most of these take a piece of wire, and then they take a hydraulic ram and they squash the tip, then they bend it to a curve, and then they grind it down. And the problem with manufacturing those It's quick, it's easy, it's cheap, but it also weakens the metal, so they tend to break. And I can't tell you how many of those I've broken. Instead, Sparrows has chosen to take a large diameter piece of steel and then grind it down. And I've got to tell you, I did think that was wire. And in fact, I went back and measured all those, and they're very consistent on the thickness. So I don't know how they did that, but they did it in such a way that that looks like wire. And more importantly, when you look at that, it's chromed. Sparrows went to the trouble to hard chrome this. I don't think they did it to make it shiny so that Bill grabs it like a wild monkey. I think they did it because hard chrome is really slick, so it slides in and out of the keyway very, very nicely. All right, now let's get up to the tip. Now this is where I start to say, all right, this is where we can start having, let me take this cutaway and set him aside. Let's grab this guy. A little bit of room for improvement. Here is a flag. Come on, focus, focus. Now, if you look closely at this little guy, and I apologize, but I really want you to see this, and the camera may or may not cooperate. They filed this flag flat, and then they took a grinder and they cut a groove right down the center there. So when you look at the end of it, it kind of gives you a curve, but it's not really a curve. It's a flat piece of steel with a cut going down the middle of it. Now, that'll work, but here's the problem. When we try to go around warding in those locks that I just showed you, you've got a little ledge right here that when you try to rotate that around the warding to pick a high cut pin, this flat spot on that shaft is going to get caught up. It's going to stop you. You're not going to be able to reach up in there. So we're going to have to clean that up. That's what's going to have to be done. Also, the diameter or the width of this groove is really not very wide. It's the width of a very small grinder. We need to widen that up and improve this curve so that it will literally flow around that piece of warding. It's very easy to do. Now, a lot of you guys are saying, well, why didn't they do that? When you start doing fine finishing work like that on picks, they're not going to cost $39 anymore. They're going to cost $139 because of the time involved in doing that. So just like any other commercial pick, Sparrows has given us the 95% solution. They've left that last 5% up to us. It's really easy to do. Let me show you how I did it in my working set of picks, and that way you can apply that to yours when you get your kit in the mail. Let me move over to the workbench and we'll do that now. All right, guys, let's start out with this guy. This is completely unmodified. You can see he's still got all the rough edges on him. And the first thing that I'd like to do is remove that part, that sharp, come on, baby, that sharp area right there so it doesn't get caught on warding. And I'd also like to deepen this groove. And to do that, I'm going to use a round file. This is a 6-file kit. I got it at Home Depot for $6.19. You don't need those 4. You only need the round one, and you need the triangular one. So the first thing I'm going to do is just lie them on top with the curve pointing up, and then just give them a couple of files. Just file it like that until that sharp edge is gone and you've widened that groove and increased the depth a little bit. All right, it's starting to look pretty good now. We got that sharp edge taken off, and I have that groove deepened and widened, so we got a little bit of curve there, but this is the deep curve. It's not really very deep. So now we need to move on to the next step. That explains the vise. What I usually do is I stick him in there and I rotate him as far as he will go to the right. Let me zoom in and show you exactly what I'm talking about. And then I tighten up the vise. Get this thing finger tight. And I rotate him as far as he will go to the right. And then I go ahead and tighten the vise up. Now he's clamped in there pretty good. He's going nowhere. Now very gently, and I use a brass hammer for this, I just tap on the top of that flag. Don't try to give it one whack and cut him all at once. Just tap from different angles, and what will happen is you'll actually roll him over a little bit. Don't fold him all the way over to the face of the vise, otherwise it'll be 90 degrees. That'll be too much. Just give him a couple of taps. And let me loosen him back up. Get him to focus. Now we're starting to get a nice deep hook, nice and clean. There's nothing there that's going to get caught up on the warding. This is exactly what we've got, what we want. A couple of problems already though. First of all, when I shove this in, let me back this camera out again so the focus will work correctly. When I slide this into the keyway, the front of this pick's going to be hitting the bottom of the pins. Now they're rounded, but sometimes they got some strong springs. So if you have a flat speed bump on the front of your pick like we have here, he might not slide under. So I want to put a little angle on there so it's kind of like a shovel that's sliding underneath those pins. So again, I'm going to take either the round file or the triangular file. Camera, work with me. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to round off the front of that. I'm going to put a nice little ledge so that he'll slide underneath those pins. Let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll put it back on the camera. All right, I think you can see the front edge of that is angled. It's almost sharp, so it's guaranteed to slide under those pins without grabbing hold of them. Now remember, the pick goes in. It's also got to come out. So you don't want to have a nice little shovel on the front and then a speed bump on the back. So be sure and sharpen the back of that pick so it slides out just as easily as it slides in. Once you're done with that, just take your Dremel tool or some polishing compound, polish it up, make it smooth, make it nice and shiny like the rest of the pick, and that's all there is to it. Alright guys, I hope I haven't bored too many of you out of your skulls in my constant quest for perfection, all those little details. This is a great kit. I've got to say, $39. It was worth waiting 2 years to get. It's probably the best one that's available to us right now. Non-custom, I'm talking about. We can easily turn these into custom by drilling 7 little holes so we know which way the picks are oriented, and spending about an hour with the file, a little bit of sandpaper and buffing compound to clean the tips up. These are going to be so much more capable once you've got them cleaned up and give you access to so many different locks. Again, I apologize for the length of the video and all the detail, but you know how it is sometimes. Anyway, if you'd like to win this thing, all you got to do, move these guys up out of the way. You can win this pick kit plus one of the Munitions Pin sets. There's a website. Go there. Big purple button, click it, register, and with a little luck, you'll be the proud owner of a brand new Sparrows Dimple pick kit. Appreciate your time, guys. Stay safe. Stay legal. Hold on, before you leave, click that subscribe button. And while you're there, click that notification bell as well. If you'd like to be a sponsor, click there, and for $5 a month, you get all kinds of benefits. If that's not enough free stuff, hit the Lock Lab. We've got a self-paced lockpicking course with over a dozen modules at the bottom of the page. Join the tribe. Subscribe.